If you had a choice, would you rather stay in your home as you age? Well, AARP reports that 76% of the people that they surveyed over 50 would rather stay in their own homes. But a lot of people have challenges as they age, including physical and cognitive limitations, financial constraints, and the availability of appropriate support services. Well, today we're going to talk about aging in place and the options to make it more possible with Grace Rustia. She is Associate State Director of Community Outreach for AARP PA. Well, Grace, thank you so much for joining us here today. And let's talk first about the definition of aging in place.
Aging in place is however it says it. It's actually the ability to stay in the comforts of your own home, the comforts with your family member, and being comfortable and aging with dignity and continuing the purpose that you have in life in the comforts of your own home.
Well, Grace, what are some of the key benefits of aging in place?
Aging in place gives you the ability to limit the isolation, because sometimes you are in community but you still feel isolated because you are not comfortable where you are. Whereas if you are in your own home, you're familiar with it, you have the freedom to do exactly how it is. There is no change in how you live. So living in your own home is the best way to age in place.
Grace, let's talk about some of the common challenges and obstacles that might get in the way of aging gracefully in place.
Well, as you know, as we age, we do have some limitations. And also, our life changes because, like what you said in your introduction, we have poor eyesight, we have limitations with the way we move. But then, what we need to do really is to prepare to age. Aging gracefully with purpose and dignity is preparing for what has to happen, because we all do age. So in the house, there has to be a conversation with your family. You don't want to wait for something tragic to happen like a fall before you really find out or plan aging. So start with small things at home. Assess your living room, your kitchen, your corridors, your hallway, your bedroom, your bathroom. So preparation is key to aging as well, especially if you want to live at home.
Grace, I understand that AARP has a program that allows folks to be evaluated, their home to be evaluated for its accessibility. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so I will give you the website. It's www.aarp.org/home fit guide. If they actually just go onto AARP Home Fit Guide, it gives you the step-by-step assessment in every area of your home. For example, making sure that the doorways are, your wheelchair or even your stroller will fit. And then making sure that your hallways are very well lit. Your light switches are accessible to you if in the event you are using a wheelchair. You can easily turn it on or turn it off. Your kitchen counters needs to be adjusted so that it's accessible to you when you are in a wheelchair. Or even as simple as the height of your toilet. You want it to be raised a little higher. So the Home Fit Guide walks you through into that assessment.
It sounds like it's very important to have a conversation with the whole family, because I know that as my mother was aging, we had a big conversation about whether she would move in with us, whether we would build an extension, or whether we'd make her current residence more accessible. So what are some of the conversations that we need to have financially with our families as a whole to prepare ourselves for having our seniors age in place?
When you're aging in place and your family member becomes a caregiver, the financial capacity is always, I would say, affected by it. So there really has to be a conversation, a very important conversation that you have to have with your family member. I think it is very important for your older adults to express their wants and their future needs. It's very important for us as family members to understand what their plans are in aging. I used to be a caregiver
Mm.
for my mom, and it is ironic that I worked for AARP and I know all this. I did not realize that my mom was really aging until she fell. Then, after she fell from the hospital, I then realized that there are some accessibility issues in her home. So we chose for her to stay in place, but in my home. So we had that conversation. You have to have a sincere conversation and have your older adults express their wants. And from there, we assessed our home. I needed ramp in the opening or the doorway in our driveway. So there has to be some comfort level with the adults, with the elder adults in moving or deciding to stay in place, because it's not as easy as leaving your family member in your home without a plan. Planning is key because there are financial capacity that needs to be addressed, accessibility, and safety for your older adults.
It sounds like it's so important to have this conversation and ideally way in advance of the necessity for actually having to act on it. Uh, I think that sometimes family members might be surprised at what their elders' opinions might be about what they would prefer. Some might, in fact, want to go to a senior living environment, but as our statistics show, 76%. So more, three-quarters of Americans would really rather be at home because in the end, everyone wants to be around what they're familiar with, what they're comfortable with, right?
And that is very important because aging in place also helps you to stay connected, to stay purposeful in your life, because there is a way for us to age in place with dignity. It is predicted that by 2030, for every five older adult, or for one in every five older adult turns 65. So we really have to think about aging right now. There are a lot of boomers that will turn older than what they are, and that is, that is really going to happen. So now I think is the responsibility for our family member to really look into it. And as an older adult, we also have to plan for it. It is very, very, I think it is essential for us to plan ahead, and preparation is key. Do not let anything tragic to happen before you can actually start planning. And take it from me, you don't want to be rushing things. And there are a lot of like the social services, the state social services, who can also help for your needs, so that you know that there are some other programs that you can avail of to help your elders.
I think that's very important because many people think that if you age at home, then you won't have access to support. For instance, if you're in a senior home or an assisted living home, that's kind of built into the fabric of that institution. But in fact, there are lots of options that are available for people who want to live at home.
That's right.
Home health care workers that can come in, family members can also theoretically get paid to do some of that work. So there's lots of different resources that are available.
Yes, and it's very important for us to look into those resources. They can go onto the website of the Health and Human Services, the state area agency in aging, and also the state social services. There are programs that they can avail. And of course, we cannot forget there are also resources that they can find when they go to aarp.org for all of the programs and that they can avail to help plan, or even to help them if they're already going through this aging in place.
Right. And like you said, it's not only for our seniors, but it's also for ourselves making these plans in advance. I'm part of that baby boomer generation, and I'm looking at my stairs and I'm thinking, there may come a time when I'm not going to be able to go up those very steep stairs.
No, that is true. When I became a caregiver, we had to do some modifications, and we actually had to add a room downstairs for my mother. So there are some programs, and the state social services can certainly even help you assess your home.
Well, that's very important. And I think what's great about AARP is that you provide so many resources for the families that are planning in advance to support their elders in living at home and aging at home, and also for ourselves. Again, the baby boomer generation, we're a big demographic bulge, and
Yes,
and we're having a huge impact on policy, on really society, as
right.
we all, as a very large group, start to really get up in the upper levels of being a senior. There
Yes.
are so many things that we need to consider and think about in advance, and planning in advance is really key, isn't it?
Planning in advance is really key. Not only preparing our homes, we have to prepare financially. There are some legal issues also. We have to have power of attorney so that, you know, we will know what our wishes would be. That's why in the beginning of our conversation, we touched on listening to our older adults. I think it's very important to plan with them and not for them, because they will be the ones living that chapter of their life, and the objective is to age with dignity and continue that purpose that they have. Not because we are aging we just stay in place, but we have to stay in place with dignity and purpose. And we don't want to be isolated. Aging in place is helping you to stay connected with your family and engaged in the community, engaged with your family. I think that's very important in aging in place.
Absolutely. Having that social connection is really key in aging gracefully and healthily, because we know that social contacts
Yes.
can really improve not only our physical well being, but our mental well being as well.
Yes. What, as we always say, everything it to age gracefully, we have to be physically, mentally, and financially secure. And I think when we listen to our elders, we also understand what they want to do as they grow old with us. And we also have to be prepared to be the caregiver of our loved ones as they grow old. And we have to take care of ourselves as caregivers also, because we might set them up for a well planned aging in place. But we as individuals also have to be prepared to be caregivers, to take care of our loved ones as they grow old.
Right. Yeah, that's very important. And I know that AARP has many resources. Repeat to us what the website is for more information.
They can go on to www.aarp.org/home fit guide to assess their home. But for other information, they can go to www.aarp.org.
AARP, your one-stop shop for all information regarding aging gracefully, whether you are aging gracefully or whether some members of your family are in need of support and care. Grace Rustia, thank you so much. Grace is the Associate State Director of Community Outreach for AARP PA, and I'm Loraine Ballard-Morrill.